morning, everybody, and welcome back to Java with Jesus. Welcome also to day 2 of the new book, Ecclesiastes. We just started this yesterday, so if you are new here, hi, welcome, good start, or good place to jump in. We do have a few chapters to read today. We're back in the, few chapters of reading now instead of just one chapter a day like it was with Proverbs. So I don't want to take up a lot of time yapping, but I do hope that you guys are having a good week so far and that you are enjoying the warm weather, at least here in the South. Texas has been really warm, abnormally warm for this time of year. That's nice. That bodes well for summer. Can't wait for that. Yay. It's finally my weekend. And yeah, that's all I got for you. No crazy updates to report. Thank goodness, honestly. But yeah, here we go. Like I said, a couple chapters to read today, so we're going to get into it. Episode 191. But Daddy, why? Why, Daddy? Children who have reached the why stage remind us that they live in a smaller, simpler world than adults do. Often, the questions and truths that intrigue the young are beyond their comprehension. Solomon lists several disappointments as he has observed in the world and asks why they have to exist. Unable to grasp the answers, he has to come to sort of a compromise. Let him lead you to be the, quote, grown-up who can explain. I don't know about that, Chief. This reading also comments further on 3 areas of life that touch us all: death, work, and friendship. And today's reading will be Ecclesiastes 3 through 5, verse 20. So like I said, we're back in that whole 2 to 3 chapter a day reading situation. Proverbs was nice because we got to kind of take our time and go through things and whatnot because it was 1 chapter a day, but that's all right. Ecclesiastes 3, a time for everything. There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven. I've heard this saying before. There's a time for every event under the sun. Okay, anyway. That's crazy. A time to give birth and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to shun embracing. A time to search and a time to give up as lost. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear apart and a time to sew together. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What profit is there to the worker from that in which he toils? I have seen the task which God has given the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. He has made everything appropriate in its time. He has also set eternity in their heart, yet so that man will not find out the work which God has done from the beginning even to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good in one's lifetime. Moreover, that every man who eats and drinks sees good in all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will remain forever. There is nothing to add to it, and there is nothing to take from it, for God has so worked that men should fear him. That which is has been already, and that which will be has already been, for God seeks what has passed by. Furthermore, I have seen under the sun that in the place of justice there is wickedness, and in the place of righteousness there is wickedness. I said to myself, God will judge both the righteous man and the wicked man, for a time for every matter and for every deed is there. I said to myself concerning the sons of men, God has surely tested them in order for them to see that they are but beasts. For the fate of the sons of men and the fate of beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. Indeed, they all have the same breath, and there is no advantage for man over beast, for all is vanity. All go to the same place. All came from the dust, and all return to the dust. Who knows that the breath of man ascends upward, and the breath of the beast descends downward to the earth? I have seen that nothing is better than that man should be happy in his activities, for that is his lot. For who will bring him to see what will occur after him? Ecclesiastes 4. The evils of oppression. Then I looked again at all the acts of oppression which were being done under the sun. And behold, I saw the tears of the oppressed, and that they had no one to comfort them. And on the side of their oppressors was power, but they had no one to comfort them. So I congratulated the dead who are already dead more than the living who are still living. But better off than both of them is the one who has never existed, who has never seen the evil activity that is done under the sun. I have seen that every labor and every skill which is done is the result of rivalry between a man and his neighbor. This too is vanity and striving after wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. One hand full of rest is better than two fists full of labor and striving after wind. Then I looked again at vanity under the sun. There was a certain man without a dependent, having neither a son nor a brother, yet there was no end to all his labor. Indeed, his eyes were not satisfied with riches, and he never asked, and for whom am I laboring and depriving myself of pleasure? This too is vanity, and it is a grievous task. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up. Furthermore, if two lie down together, they keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? And if one can overpower him who is alone, two can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart. A poor yet wise lad is better than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to receive instruction. For he has come out of prison to become king, even though he was born poor in his kingdom. I have seen all the living under the sun throng to the side of the second lad who replaces him. There is no end to all the people, to all who were before them, and even the ones who will come later will not be happy with him, for this too is vanity and striving after wind. Ecclesiastes 5. Your attitude toward God. Guard your steps as you go to the house of God, and draw near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools, for they do not know they are doing evil. Do not be hasty in word or impulsive in thought to bring up a matter in the presence of God. For God is in heaven and you are on the earth. Therefore let your words be few. For the dream comes through much effort, and the voice of a fool through many words. When you make a vow to God, do not be late in paying it, for he takes no delight in fools. Pay what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than that you should vow and not pay. Do not let your speech cause you to sin, and do not stay in the presence of the messenger of God that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry on account of your voice and destroy the work of your hands? For in many dreams and in many words there is emptiness. Rather, fear God. If you see oppression of the poor and denial of justice and righteousness in the province, do not be shocked at the sight. For one official watches over another official, and there are higher officials over them. After all, a king who cultivates the field is an advantage to the land. Well, that last passage there is a little relevant right now, huh? Denial of justice and righteousness. One official watches over the other. Anyway, I'm just saying, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves abundance with its income. This too is vanity. When good things increase, those who consume them increase. So what is the advantage to their owners except to look on? The sleep of the working man is pleasant, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich man does not allow him to sleep. There is a grievous evil which I have seen under the sun, riches being hoarded by their owner to his hurt. When those riches were lost through a bad investment and he had fathered a son, then there was nothing to support him. As he had come naked from his mother's womb, so will he return as he came. He will take nothing from the fruit of his labor that he can carry in his hand. This is also a grievous evil. Exactly as a man is born, thus he will die. So what is the advantage to him who toils for the wind? Throughout his life, he also eats in darkness with great vexation, sickness, and anger. Here is what I have seen to be good and fitting: to eat, to drink, and enjoy oneself in all one's labor, in which he toils under the sun during the few years of his life which God has given him, for this is his reward. Furthermore, as for every man to whom God has given riches and wealth, he has also empowered him to eat from them and to receive his reward and rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God, for he will not often consider the years of his life, because God keeps him occupied with the gladness of his heart. That was a lot. Solomon's feeling very mouthy this time around. That's for sure. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16 through chapter 4, verse 12, Solomon reflects on 6 apparent contradictions in the world. First, wickedness rules where justice should. That's chapter 3, verse 16. Second, people created in God's image die just as the animals do. That's chapter 3, 18 through 21. Third, no one comforts oppressed people. Chapter 4, verse 1. Fourth, many people work because they envy what others have, not because they love their work. Chapter 4, verse 4. Fifth, people are lonely. Chapter 4, verses 7 through 12. And sixth, fame doesn't last. And that's chapter 4, verses 13 through 16. Many questions in life cannot be answered to our satisfaction because we lack the ability to understand the answers, not because the answers don't exist. Although we cannot understand the answers today, one day we will. In the meantime, we should trust life's apparent contradictions to God and not lose faith in him when we don't understand something. Well, isn't that the truth? How many times have we looked back and we're like, oh, that's why. That's why I went through this horrible thing, or that's why this happened, or that's why I went this direction instead of this direction, or that's why I wanted this path and instead I went on this path. Whatever. And it all lines up. When you look back on it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense now. Life is full of questions and we have no answers until, once we die and we go up to the pearly gates, we could probably ask and get our answers. But I don't know that we'll care at that point, but we might, maybe before we cross the gates, we care. And you're like, listen, I have questions. Can I please get some answers? And then you're like, oh, okay, well, that's something. But we just have to trust it all to God. I know that seems to be a theme lately. I get it. Anyway, life is full of questions and we will never get all of the answers. Like I said, until we are about to enter the pearly gates themselves, or for whatever reason, we're given all the knowledge of the world. And that's just too much for one human being to handle. And God wouldn't do that anyway. All right. He needs to chill. He's like, humans are like, no, you can't handle all this. So we just have to pray to him and ask our questions to him. And hopefully he answers some of them in ways probably that we're not going to expect. And that will help satisfy us. We're just curious by nature anyway. We have to know why, which is why, that's like the kid's first word other than no. It's why. It's always with the whys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for episode 191 today. I hope this reading resonated with you. I think that passage about officials covering other officials was quite relevant. I may post that one on Twitter and see what happens because, wow, that was really relevant for today's world here. We just skimmed over that one. I would have liked to delve into that a little further, but Anyway. I hope you all have a really good day. But before we go, let's bow our heads in prayer. And dear God, thank you so much for being with us today during this reading as we dive into a new book. Jesus, today I pray that those of us that are struggling with the whys of the world, that we are turning to you to get answers for them. And that even if we cannot have the answers, that we are turning towards you anyway. And that you are relaxing our hearts and our minds and our souls with the information that you can give us, or just to relax us in general. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys so much once again for hanging out with me. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for episode 192 and more of King Solomon's valid but winded ramblings. Very good ramblings and lessons. God bless you all. Be safe out there today. Have a great day. Bye.